As all the NFRN series hit the halfway point of the regular season, well, the NFRN Champions League is not much different. As we head into round number 3, we hit our first and only road course of the schedule. And for many of the drivers in the field tonight, they've already had a little bit of a taste of the circuit. Down here in Australia, this is Calder Park Raceway, and you're watching the third round of the NFRN Champions League. Hello again, everybody. My name is Colin Denton on the call today for RVN. Eric Van Arsdale's pulled off an improbable 2 victories in a row here in the NFRN Champions League. We are going to see tonight if he's able to make it 3 in a row. Going to be a difficult task, though, because he'll be starting in the back due to the way the point systems work for qualifying and the fact that it's a road course, our first and only on the schedule for this series. It's going to be an exciting race, though, because we saw in the NFRN Elite Cup Series, there was a lot of passing, a lot more than we saw in Season 1 at the road courses. This track's actually been a little bit different, especially due to the incorporation of the oval circuit. Now, will Eric Van Arsdale be able to pass those cars up? Well, he has a little bit of a disadvantage. All the Elite Cup Series drivers got the taste of driving on this course last race weekend. 10 of 12 drivers in the field, Van Arsdale not being one of those, neither Colin Lindsay. So, going to be a little bit difficult for him to go for 3 in a row, but we'll see what he's able to pull off. So we'll take you over to the starting grid for today's race. Keep in mind, if you haven't been tuning in for the first 2 events of the season, that it's set by inverse driver points. So, starting on the inside for row number 1, Noah Cars, who hasn't been able to grab a top 10 in either of the 2 events we've ran so far. Stephen Willie hasn't been able to finish on the lead lap either. On row number 2, NASCAR Fan 19 wrecked out at Riki. Colin Lindsay was trying to stay on the lead lap in that event, managed to do so, but not a great finish. On row number 3, Nick Smith had a top 5 at Riki Raceway, making a comeback. Tyler Markell, 2 6th place finishes in a row. Row number 4, a couple of drivers that finished in the top 5 at Columbia, not so great at Riki though. Reese Butcher on the inside, William Brock on the outside. Row number 5, Rampage has finished top 5 in both events. Johnny Gardner, your runner-up at Riki Raceway. And in row number 6, the runner-up at Columbia, John Arndt on the inside, Eric Van Arsdale, the 2-time winner, going to start from the rear. That is your 12-car grid for today's race. We see them navigating the narrow technical turns at the north end of the racetrack. 44 is going to try to get as good of a jump as he can. This could be an opportunity for the entire standings to collapse into each other. 67 is going to do everything he can to keep everyone as far back as he can. Try to see what he can do heading into the final race, but this is the green flag at Calder Park. Oh, and the 62 made the 44 run wide, tight into the second corner. The 44 is going to have the advantage, but the 62 made sure that he had no room and trying to stay as close as possible. Now Cars has cleared him by a couple car lengths, but the 62 trying to gain the draft to keep himself in contention. You can see just behind him, NASCAR Fan 19 is trying to keep Lindsay at bay. And the 62 trying to see he can work the outside line. They're at the exit of the oval, and the 62's got the nose in there and forces the 44 to run wide. Cars gets in the grass, and the 62 assumes the lead. Stephen Willie hasn't been out front all season. Now he's trying to make something happen. Now a battle for third place as well, the 64 and the 95. That's a tight battle as well. Still side by side as they come out of the first kink. Going into the faster kink down the hill. Who's going to get the advantage? Lindsay's going to let him up. 64 heads to third. But Lindsay's still hot on his tail. Tyler Markell and Nick Smith side by side in this corner. That's a battle for 5th place. Markell's going to assume the position. And even further back, Eric Van Arsdale is trying to see if he can start picking off some guys and put a little bit of a gap in between him and John Arndt. That would be putting a gap on second place if he's able to keep the position on him. Stephen Willey's going to lead the first lap, though, and see what he can do to charge all the way to the checkered flag. It's been an absolutely dismal season for the 62 car driver. 33.2 is his average finish in the Elite Cup Series, and even down here, one of the lowest running drivers in the NFRN Champions League. He's just had no luck in this second season of the league. And it all really started when he got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs in season number 1. Now he's trying to see what he can do to get some redemption. Hasn't won a race since since bump drafting, the first race of the league. Now he's out front, leading at Calder Park. Noah Cars won the first event of season 2. That would be the Clash at Columbia, not the Columbia 500. No points paying races, though, to his name. And he's going to have to run a little bit conservative. Try to see if he can save those tires, which obviously ran out in the grass. We'll see if those cause a problem later on, but Stephen Willey holding the lead early on in this event. We'll take a quick commercial break, come back and see where this field cycles out.
It's Denny time.
You drive like my mom.
Dinner's ready.
What would you do with your favorite driver? Enter your design at toyotaracing.com.
As we see Stephen Willey holding the lead on the third lap of this third round of the NFRN Champions League. This is a good time to remind everybody that sign-ups for the part-time truck series race at Oswego closing down very soon. That will be in 2 days' time at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. That is the deadline to get an entry in for Oswego if you are not a part of the league at the moment. That sign-up will be in the description, open to all drivers that haven't put themselves in to the league yet. And if you have been signed up, you have no need to sign up again. 62 car holding the lead over Noah Cars NASCAR Fan 19. The 64 trying to see if he can start to reel these front two in, and he's doing a pretty solid job at it right now. We see in the middle of this pack right now, Nick Smith in 6th place. We mentioned his name a little bit during the Elite Cup Series race, and he had a great top 10 finish during that. He won the first road course race we had in this league back in Season 1. That was the 9th race, which Calder Park was the 9th race this season. That came at Bull Run. And a lot of drivers in the Elite Cup Series had the opportunity to run that race, and we had a couple of veterans out front. Noah Cars, he ran second in that race. Johnny Gardner won it eventually, but now the 44 is up there in the runner-up spot again. Surely he's going to have a little bit of experience to try to catch back up to Willey and see what he can do to claim a victory once and for all. 62 wrecked out in that event. There was the winner, Johnny Gardner. He's having to fight a little bit further back in the field. Obviously, the 6 car got the outside pole in the Elite Cup Series race, and that was a great starting spot. Track position so essential on these road courses, but now he's trying to work on getting back up from a little bit further back in the field because of the standing he had. Nick Smith is falling back quite a bit, and he just got passed up by the 6, getting passed up by the 23 now. There's got to be a problem with Nick Smith on the 18 car. Yeah, now John Arndt's making the cut down inside. Something's definitely wrong on the 18 now. Oh, and a little bit of contact right there by Eric Van Arsdale. Gets him loose, and he's spinning in the first kink. Range is a little bit slow for Van Arsdale's liking. So now, in addition to having a problem on the 18, now he's going to be a little bit further back in the field. I'm not really sure what to say about that one. It's been a little bit of a rarity to see some mechanical issues in the league. We did see Justin Roadback blow up at Pig Speedome, but now we're seeing the 18 having a little bit of troubles. As the rest of the field comes down the long front stretch that doubles as a drag strip. And Van Arsdale now working the back part of the field. Any positions he was fighting for earlier didn't materialize, and we see Nick Smith's coming down for his service now. We expect all drivers to make at least one pit stop in this race. It might only be one pit stop. Obviously, Nick Smith has a problem. He'll have to address it. But maybe he'll be able to get to the end of the race based on this pit service. They are going to go for 4 tires here. It sounds like he might have had a tire problem on his race car, and that might have been why he was limping it around a little bit. So they'll stick 4 tires on it. Try to get him out as fast as they can. See if he can pick up any positions. Meanwhile, we wait to see what the rest of the field will do in terms of pit stops. Do they come down this lap? Will it be enough to get them to the end? Will anyone just try to play a different strategy than the rest of the field? Will it be enough to try to make a move on Stephen Willie, who's kept the lead ever since he took it off of the oval on the first lap? We take a look at the shot at the entry of pit lane, and no one's coming down, which means we'll step away and prepare for them to come down after this quick commercial break.
Come on, Michael, come on. Drop the hammer now. Looking good, Michael, looking good. Man, what a light. Woo, that's good enough to be the pole. Michael, you're not going to believe this. Not today, Mikey.
Make way for Cyberdale. It is knock knock out of my way. Rabid pack of pit bulls doing the jackhammer waltz. NASCAR 2000 EA Sports. It's in the game.
The halfway point of round number 3 in the NFRN Champions League shows Stephen Willie out in front. As mentioned previously, the 62 driver hasn't won a race since the first race of the league at Bundrafton Superspeedway. Today might be his opportunity. We'll see if Noah Cars or anyone else in the field is going to have a challenge for him. You see Johnny Gardner trying to run a little bit different line on Colin Lindsay, see if he can grab a position late in the going. Oh, and a little bit of a mess up by the 44 entering the first kink. And there's contact with him and NASCAR Fan 19. And both spin off the racetrack and lose a ton of positions. And they both finally limp back onto the racetrack, and Noah Cars actually got in front of John Arndt and gave the opportunity to Eric Van Arsdale contact between the 44 and the 05. And now I think the 44 car has a problem. And now we see Stephen Willie coming down for pit service. And actually the first 3 cars in line go for pits. But it doesn't look like anyone else is going to do the same. We might see Noah Cars come down. NASCAR Fan 19 did not come down after spinning. But Willie, Lindsay, and Markel come down. We do see Noah Cars in the background. He's also coming down and going to fix whatever problem he has. With the first 3 in line, going to see what they can do. Willie comes in. This is going to be a crucial stop for him. He knows he has got to win this event and try to regain some momentum. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for the 62 team. Noah Carr is going to come in at the stall in front of him. He's going to be safe there, and he's going to get out cleanly and ahead of the other two drivers. In fact, it looks like he's going to gap him a little bit as the 95 takes a little bit of time to get out, and so does the 48. And we'll see 4 tires go on the 44, and he's off. Now at the front of the field, it's Reese Butcher trying to hold off Rampage. It's a current battle for the lead, but we'll see how it transfers to after all of the drivers make their pit stops. We mentioned Rampage had 2 top 5s in a row. Could be going on his 3rd in a row. Reese Butcher had a little bit of a fall off between Columbia and Ricky. Will him staying out a lap later help him out on tire strategy and maybe find a way around Willie? We're going to find out this lap as we get the call that a lot, if not all, of the drivers are coming down right here. We see the top 2 pull off. And there's the rest of the field coming in behind him. Reese Butcher's going to lead the way for the rest of the drivers that haven't made pit service yet. That's 7 cars in total. We've had 5 come down so far. 4 on that last lap. Nick Smith a lot earlier due to his problems. You can see the gap is still pretty significant. But after they get the tires on the race car, where will everyone stack up? We look above the stall of Reese Butcher as the crew goes to work on the rights and the lefts. And Butcher pulls away. And before he can get to the line, Stephen Willie already gets back there. Entering turn number 1. Butcher's going to try to see what he can do to get to the inside of Colin Lindsay. It might be the only move he can make right now because Willie is checking out on the field.
So, you want to be eco-friendly?
Of course.
Okay, got corn.
We got that.
Got someone blended into Sunoco Green E15 fuel?
Got it.
Got a car to use that fuel?
Sure do.
Got a way to recycle?
Yep.
Got trees to offset carbon?
Got that.
Got sun to power the sport?
You bet.
Got electric-powered cars?
Yep.
So wait a minute. You cut emissions by 20%, you're the largest recycler in sports, and you use solar power?
Of course we do.
All right. Got a cool earthy logo?
Check this out.
Too cool. Better.
Back at Calder Park Raceway for the final few laps of this NFRN Champions League race. Stephen Willie has extended his lead. It really helps that he had some incidents happen behind him. Noah Carr's NASCAR Fan 19 running 2-3 at the time. Both make contact. And that put a wide gap on the rest of the field. You can count the seconds going by as Willie enters the final turns of the circuit. Colin Lindsay cycling into second as he came down at the same lap as the 62. See William Brock starting to enter the same area as Eric Van Arsdale runs just behind him. That's a critical points battle right there, as Brock's going to try to keep the 67 at bay and keep him further back in the standings, because every point that he's missing out on is going to be an opportunity for other drivers to try to catch up. At the moment, John Arndt behind the 67, not going to gain ground on him. William Brock's been having a very solid season. He's currently 5th in the standings in this series, 8th in the Elite Cup Series standings, has a win at Ricky Raceway to his name. That's his first career victory and is only right now. Started a little bit further back in this race, trying to see what he can do to gain ground, but in fact he looks like he's lost ground just a little bit as he currently runs 9th. Reese Butcher up here in 3rd place. In fact, I think he might be one of the drivers that's had a great gain in terms of positions. He started a little bit further back than where he's running right now. It's very solid for the 90 car. Now he's just got to find a way to catch up to Stephen Willie and Colin Lindsay, which you can see they're not even in the shot right there as he hit the first kink. He's got a lot of ground to make up, and obviously the 62 put a gigantic gap on him, making it a lot harder. Currently 6th in the Champions League standings, with a lot of positions over Van Arsdale. This could be an opportunity for him to make ground, but how much ground can he make up, and will it help him try to find the title on the two-time winner? There's the gap between first and second. 3 laps to go this time around. It's gone almost completely single file. These cars very spread out right now. See if more passing can take place. Someone who could really use a pass right now, John Arndt, currently last place. Somehow he got passed up by Nick Smith, who had that problem earlier on. And the 18 was able to catch back up to the 05. John Arndt's been doing great as a consistent driver, leading the point standings during this part of the Elite Cup Series season. Still lacking a win, though. The second-year veteran trying to seek one out. Obviously, not all drivers have been able to get a victory, but the 05 is waiting for his time. Today, though, it doesn't look like that's going to happen as he currently struggles in the back of the field. We'll see if he can gain some ground. The 18 is going to be his best bet. As we ride on board Colin Lindsay, you can see that gap that Stephen Willie has amassed, and it's continuing to gain as his car is just completely tuned in. I imagine Lindsay's trying to find different ways to get around the racetrack that might be faster. Obviously, he didn't have the practice time that these Elite Cup Series drivers did. But he's doing a very solid job for what he was given to him. Running up here in second place. Took a little bit of luck to get to where he is right now, but he's really utilizing it as we see Noah Cars and NASCAR Fan 19. They're running 8th and 7th respectively, which is a solid comeback for two drivers that looked like they took themselves out of it and seemingly went to the back of the field, but even they were able to pass up drivers like Van Arsdale and Brock. At this point, the 44 driver of Noah Cars is just trying to see what he can do to build some momentum. Try to see what he can do to get himself into the Elite Cup Series playoffs. Didn't make it last year. Not on a good pace to make it this year either. If he can just set his team up for success, that'd be very good for him. We're seeing a pass made out of the oval. That is Rampage on Markel for 4th place. And the 48's in a precarious position. We haven't talked about this all race, but for what Van Arsdale is getting out of points today, he could start to eliminate drivers from contention. We don't have the official word on what drivers are going to be out as they run, but Markel is not in a safe situation. He needs the points today, but he's going to have to work for them as cars start to pick him off. He's only got one more lap to either gain or maintain that position. White flags out for Stephen Willie. He has a gigantic gap on this entire field and especially second place. Almost a full corner is the difference between 1 and 2. Will this finally be the opportunity that Stephen Willie's been looking for? And the opportunity that Checkmate Motorsports is going to find some momentum in the second half of the regular season. A team fielding just 2 Elite Cup Series cars. Willie being the veteran presence, but not showing the results, getting very outrun by Jonathan Rains in the 77. Willie trying to show his road course prowess as we see Johnny Gardner on the outside of Tyler Markell. We talked about the 48 being in a unsafe position, and he's going to get the high side as Johnny Gardner goes to the inside. And there is another spot lost for Tyler Markell. More valuable points that could knock him out of the running for a championship. Stephen Willie comes down the hill through the fast kink. Now he's just got to navigate the technical part of the race circuit. Several seconds separating him from Lindsay. He just needs to take the final turn perfectly. As he comes off this 180, Stephen Willie went from Season 1 winner down in the dumps and back to victory lane here in the third round of the NFRN Champions League. A win the 62 definitely needed. And he definitely showed why he deserved it. A huge dominating victory here today at the road course. Congratulations to Stephen Willie. What a great victory that is. One that we've been waiting to see. He's going to have a lot of celebrating to do tonight. We take a quick look at today's results. Colin Lindsay comes in second place. Reese Butcher at third place. Tyler Markell drops to sixth place, getting passed by two different drivers in the late laps of the going. No Cars finds his first top 10 of the season up there in 8th place. Van Arsdale fought back to 10th place, and Nick Smith actually got passed up by John Arndt in the late going as well. Arndt trying to keep the gap between him and Van Arsdale very slim, but a little bit of points gained in that situation. We take a look at the standings, and it's a big jump between Eric Van Arsdale and John Arndt. 67 is going to be a huge problem as we head to Myrtle Beach. And as the standings go, I believe that Tyler Markell is the first elimination spot in this series. He's no longer eligible for the championship based on points alone. He's not going to have enough to pass up the 67 or anyone else that could possibly reach him. NASCAR Fan 19 also a part of that. We'll also see Nick Smith and Noah Cars drop out as a result. The competition's still very tight in the middle of the pack, but the 67 with the huge lead at the moment. Well, after 2 weeks of racing down here in Australia, a lot of intense action on the road course leads to some very happy victories for Johnny Gardner and Stephen Willie. So, for NFRN and RVM, my name is Colin Denton. We hope you enjoyed today's race, and we hope to see you for our next Champions League race at Myrtle Beach and our next stream at Van Zandt for the Amateur Cup and Elite Cup Series drivers.